Hey guys, welcome back to another video on Pinkman Solution. And in the second video of this tutorial series, today I'm gonna discuss with you yet another port scanner. Now, in the last video, we designed three port scanners, and you might have thought that was it. But in this video, we're gonna we'll discuss yet another port scanner, which is a little advanced. So, if you remember in the last video, the port scanner we designed was the last The last port scanner which we designed was this concurrent. So in this program, we were leveraging Go routines, but it had one problem with it. So if you notice carefully, we are creating 1024 Go routines. We are calling 1024 Go routine. That means we will be executing 1024 Go routines in concurrently, which might sound good to you, but in reality that might not be efficient and might give you inconsistent result on different runs because if you're trying to set up 1024 connection concurrently to a server, uh, it might not give you the best results. So to cure this, in this video we're gonna design yet another uh, port scanner with with command line argument in which we're gonna tell our Go program that how many Go routines to create, and also in the command line arguments we're going to mention the number of the range of port which we want to scan and also the host we want to scan. So we're going to add this command line argument functionality, and we also want to control the number of Go routines which we want to scan. So all this we're going to do in this video. So without any further ado, let's begin. Here, touch. Let's call this advanced port scanner. So let me first give you a high level view on what we're gonna do with this program so that you can understand it while I will write the code. So step one will be to check if all the command line arguments are passed properly. So what we're gonna say, if the command line arguments is less than 3 or 4, then we'll say that please give all the command line arguments. Then in the second step, what we're gonna do, we're gonna define the number of workers which will be Go routines waiting for some work. So we're gonna define the number of worker Go routines which will be passed as command line arguments, and we're gonna give them some work one by one. So what this means is that you might want to scan a port range of 1 to 1024, but there will be only limited number of coroutine which will scan those number of ports. So we're gonna limit. So we're gonna give the user uh, the control of how many worker go routines he wants to have through command line arguments. And the next point will be to then, using channels, we will assign uh, port to scan to worker coroutines. And for this version of port scanner, we are not going to use wait group, and we'll see why we don't need that. And once all the scanning is done, not once all the scanning is done, uh, once the worker go routine finishes, send back the result to main thread. And last, print all the open ports in sorted order. So these are the steps which we gonna follow, and how to do it I'll show you in this video. So as a drill, we know always, let me write the boilerplate which we always write. Let me just close this, then import statement. For now I'm just gonna say fmt. Then let's first define our worker function. So earlier, if you remember, our worker function took two arguments. One was the channel and other was the weight group. But in this version, we're only gonna say our worker function will accept two arguments, which will be ports and results of both of type channel int. And then uh, we're gonna iterate over ports one by one as we receive them on this channel ports. And what we're gonna say, we want to scan, wait, we forgot something. We want to process the command line arguments first. But as this is a worker function, we are not gonna do that here. We're gonna do that in main function. So we can go ahead right now. So what we'll say is fmt.sprintf. So I think we don't need this. We can directly call the net.dial function without creating a string first. So what we'll say, connection error equal to net.dial. You see the net package is already added automatically by the Visual Code Studio plugin. Now we'll mention the address here, which is the host and then the port number. So if you remember, in this program we want to take the host as a command line argument. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say os dot args. See, os is also added as a package. Then we want the address, so our address will be third argument. So in total there will be four arguments. First will be our program name, which is the file name itself, advancedportscanner.go. Then the first argument will be the number of worker go routines we want to have, and the second argument will be the port range we want to scan, and the third argument will be the host. So here we have the host. Then with the host we want the port number. For port number we're gonna say stir convert to stir convert is another package which we are going to use in this function. I2 is going to convert integer to alphabet or string. So for this we'll say p, which is the port which we'll receive on this channel from main function. So now too few arguments. Okay, so I'm sorry, I forgot to mention the protocol as the first argument. Then we'll have the address. Next we'll check if error not equal to nil, then we'll send the result 0. So what this is doing is, if there is an error while connecting to that host on this particular host, on this particular port, which means that port is closed. So we're gonna simply send the result 0 back to the main thread saying that this port is closed. So 0 here means that our port is closed. So, and it will be results, not result, as we are passing results here in the worker. So that is done. Then we can simply continue for the next port, and if the error is not equal to nil, we can safely say that the port is open. And for that, what we going to do first, we'll close the connection just to be nice on the server, and then we'll send the result simply as the port number. So if the port is open, we're gonna send the same port as the result, and if that port is not open, we'll simply send 0 to the results channel. And the reason why we don't need worker group here, because we know the port range and uh, we can wait on that channel for those number of ports. So that's why we don't need worker group here. That will be more clear once I write the main function here. So now the worker function is complete. So I'll just minimize this for now. Now let me write the main function. And here the first step, if you remember, I mentioned we're gonna check whether the length of our command line arguments is not equal to 4. Then we're gonna say fmt dot println, please give all the required arguments. You can print any user message here, or you can also give that nice a formatted message where you give the format of the command line arguments also. It's up to you. So I'm just for now I'm just simply gonna say please give all the required arguments. And after this I'll simply say I'll exit the program using os.exit call, and the return code will be 1 because our program didn't execute it successfully. So os.exit 1. Okay, so now we want to know the number of worker threads to command line arguments. So for that I'm gonna create a new variable, number of workers, and then error equal to, let's just first grab the number of workers, which will be the first argument. So remember, 0 will be the program name itself, and the 1 will be the first argument passed to that program. So now we want to get the number of workers as an integer. So we'll use the same function which we used as dir convert a to y, and then we're gonna pass this. So if I hover over this a to y function, it returns two things, integer and error. So if you want, you can check whether it's successfully converted or not, and like here you can place a check. If error not equal to nil, then we're gonna say that please give the right arguments and exit from the program. You can do that, but for simplicity I'm not gonna do that here. So now we have the number of workers. Now we want the port range. So I'm gonna again say port range, and this time I don't need the error variable, and I'm gonna say os dot args, sorry, and this time the second argument will be the port range. Now the port range which we'll give will be in this format, like I'll say 81 to 2048. So we have this colon as a delimiter between these two port ranges. So what we're gonna say is, now we have the port range. Now I want to split this string. So we're gonna use the strings library, strings.split, and if I hover over this split function, you will see we'll take two arguments. The first will be the string we want to split, and the second will be the separator string on which we want to split, and the return value will be a slice of strings. So the port range will have uh, slice of string with two things, the start port and the end port. So the first will be the string which you want to split, and the second will be the separator string, which will be colon in our case. So now we have the number of workers, port range. The third thing will be to get to parse the start port and the end port. So for that, I'm again gonna use the stir conversion A to I, and this time I'm gonna say port range 0. Similar thing I'm going to do for end port. Stir convert A to I, port range. So now all this is done. We have the number of workers, start port, and port. Now, now we want to create two channels, one for sending the work and another one to accept the result from this worker function. So the first one will be the ports channel, which we'll create using this make call, and we'll say that we want a channel of type int with a buffer of 100. So this 100 here means that we can buffer our request up to 100 elements. Right, for this you must know the basic Go syntax. So I'm not gonna teach that here. I'll just mention whatever I feel is important. So the second channel will be the results channel. I'll do the same thing here, chan int, and this will be only but there'll be no buffer in this channel because we just want the result one by one. So we can wait here because our main function will expect the result from on this channel one by one, so that's why we are not creating a buffer here. So now we have the channels. Let's create another variable, open ports of types slice of integers. So we'll use this variable here for sorting while giving a sorted output, because if we don't sort this open ports, our results will be in unsorted order because we don't know which port will be scanned first by this worker go routines. So to give us sorted output, we're gonna collect all the results in this open ports slice here and then sort that. So this code here will create 100 worker go routines, and this go routines 100 worker go routines will accept some message on this channel, and whenever they get some message on this channel, in our case it will be an integer, it will get that integer and do a port scan on that address, and if the connection is successful, it will send back the same port on the results channel, otherwise it will send the result 0 on the same channel. So this three lines of code here is effectively creating 100 worker nodes. And if you remember, we wanted to control the number of worker go routines. So while creating the ports channel here, instead of 100, we're gonna say the number of workers. I hope you got the point here. So now we have created the worker go routines. Now the final thing is we want to we want to send the work here. So we have created the workers. Now we want to give some work to those workers. So these workers are waiting on this ports channel. So this call right here will block until we have something on this ports channel. Okay, so to send the work on this ports channel, we're gonna use a go routine, and inside this go routine, we're gonna create a for loop for I equal to start port and I less than equal to end port, and then I plus plus, and on the ports channel, we're gonna send some work as the port number, which is I. So this is done, and we'll immediately call this. So this is, if you remember, is called an ify go routine. So now all that is done. We have created 100 workers and we have sent the work to the ports channel, and they will go ahead and scan those ports. Now the final thing is we want to get the result on the results channel through the results channel. So for that we'll again use a for loop I less than equal to. Okay, so at this time it won't start from 1. We'll say start port, and this is the reason why we don't need a wait group here, because we know the port range on which to wait. And so here we'll say I less than equal to end port I plus plus, and we'll say we want to store the result inside this port variable, and to get the result out of results channel we're gonna use an arrow and the results channel, and we'll say if port is not equal to 0, that means our connection was successful and the port is open. So we'll simply say fmt dot print f, we'll say port is open, and here we'll give the port number, which is port itself. So now on each line we'll get a port is open or not. And one more thing I want to do is I want to append the results on the open ports variable. If you remember, we created an variable here of slice int. Where is it? Here. So we want to append the results onto this slice. So we'll simply say open ports equal to append open ports, and we go simply give the port number. So the append call will append the port to this open port slice, and I give back the result to this same open port slice. So now all this is done. The last thing we want to do is close both the channels, ports and results, and we're gonna sort the open port slice using sort dot ints, and pass the open ports. Next we'll print the sorted slice of open ports. We'll say first list of open ports, and yeah, this will be fine, I think. And the final thing will be to print the list. Okay, so functionality wise our code is done here. I think I'm getting some error. Let's see. Okay, so this error is declared but is never used. So I'm gonna replace this with underscore just for the placeholder. Okay, so now I think it's done. Oof, we have written a lot of code here. Let's see if it runs or not. Go run advanced port scanner. So the first argument will be our number of workers. So here let's say 100. Then the second argument will be the port range. Let's say 2 to 81. and the third argument will be our the host which you want to scan. In our case, let's say scanme.nmap.org, and the moment of truth of it gave result. Okay, so on the list of open ports we also stored 0. Okay, so that is a bug. Let's fix it quickly. Okay, so we want to do this only if the port is open. So I'll place this statement inside this if block, and then let's run it again. Beautiful. So if you see now we have a much more control. We have given much more control to the user of the script. He can give the number of a worker coroutines he wants to have while he's running the scan, and the port range he wants to give on the host itself. So this is, I guess, in my opinion, is much more advanced uh, a version of port scanner which we wrote earlier in the first video. So just to recap, let me quickly go through it once again. So to explain you what all things we are doing here. So first, inside the main function, what we are doing is we are checking if we have all the required number of arguments or not. So what we are simply checking the length of os.args slice of strings here, and we say if it is not equal to 4, we'll simply print please give all the required arguments and exit. So this is done. Then we create a couple of variables extracted from the command line argument. So the number of workers, which will be the first argument, we convert it to string using str conversion a to I function. Then we get the port range, start port, end port, and then we create two channels, one for ports on which we'll send the work, and other is results channel on which we'll get the result back from the workers. And then we create another slice of integers. Inside this we will store all the open ports, and then at the end we'll sort it. So in this loop we are effectively creating the all the worker threads using the go routine. So inside this for loop from I0 to ports, and this ports is number of workers here. So for each number of workers which we define through command line arguments, we're gonna create that number of worker. Then inside this uh, go routine iffy, we're gonna send some work on this ports channel one by one by iterating over start port to end port, and we are sending all the ports on this channel. And then we'll use this for loop to get the results from this results channel one by one and store it into this port variable. And if the port is not equal to 0, then we know that port is open. We'll simply say that port is open and append the port to this open port slice, and at the end we'll close both the channels, we'll sort it, we'll print the sorted slice. So that's how the program will work. Okay guys, so thanks for watching this video. Be sure to subscribe the channel if you want to have this kind of content in future also. And yeah, that's it. Bye bye.